Eric, can you get it? Awesome. Okay, well, welcome everybody. Thank you all so much for joining us. My name is Hannah, and I serve as the president of the USF Lost and Found chapter. And if you're new to learning about Lost and Found, Lost and Found is an organization that seeks to equip college students with strategies for lifelong resilience. And to do that, we try to promote different activities or programs or events that give you a tangible skill that you can kind of put in your toolbox to use in different times of need. And so tonight, we're really excited to have Jessi Beyer with us, and I'm gonna let Hailey introduce her.
Hello, everyone. My name is Hailey Nord, and I'm the Augustana president for Lost and Found. And tonight we are super proud to present Jessi. She is a keynote speaker, author, and mental health advocate who works with young adults to help them design a life they love waking up to and discovering their passions, their purpose, and kind of just the why behind their lives. So one thing that Jessi really believes in is having discussions to remove the stigma around mental health, which is something that Lost and Found is really passionate about as well. And so because of this, she really wants to help those around her just feel valid, heard, appreciated in their stories, and just know that they are never alone and they have that sense of community, which again is kind of our goal on both USF and Augie's campuses as well. So today Jessi is going to present on passion, purpose, and authenticity. What the heck am I supposed to do with my life? So we are really excited about that just as college students, and especially during this time of COVID-19 where we're all kind of looking for our purpose in life right now. And just as a reminder, at the end of the presentation, there will be some time for a Q&A. During that time, feel free to just put your questions in the chat. And you can put questions in the chat really at any time during the presentation, but Jessi will answer those for sure at the end. And just as a reminder too, like what Hannah said, this presentation will be recorded as well for future use. So the people who were able to attend tonight will be able to attend some other time, just since we know midterms are happening right now and life is a little busy. But we're excited to get this out to whoever can get their hands on it. But with that, please welcome Jessi, and we hope that you are excited for her presentation.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that intro, ladies. I'm really excited to be here and talk to everyone who's either here live or watching the recording. Like Hailey and Hannah said, today we're going to be talking about what you're doing with your life, what you want to do with your life, how you're going to get there, how to put that whole plan into action and really feel passionate and purposeful about where you're going in life. So I'm going to share my slides here and we will dive right in. So get myself set. Oh, I don't want to sign it. I want to full screen. Beautiful. Awesome. So just a little agenda for today so we all know what to expect through the hour-ish that we're going to spend together. First and foremost, make sure that you have a pen and paper ready or some way to take notes, because throughout this presentation, we're going to do a lot of activities, a lot of journaling, a lot of thinking, a lot of writing. And so I want to make sure that you have a way to take what we're learning today and actually put it into action right now. So you can come out at the end of this presentation with a concrete plan and better than you came into it. So make sure you have some way of taking notes in front of you. We're going to start with a little introduction just about me, my bio. We already had a great introduction, so that won't take too much time there. Then the first part of this presentation is going to be focusing on how to figure out what you actually want to do with your life, outside of what your friends and family tell you to do, outside of what society expects you to do, but what you as an individual want to do with your life. After that, we're going to talk about your why statement, which is really the driver and the motivating force behind you achieving any of those goals. The third part of this presentation is going to be about how to focus your attention and not get distracted by all of the shiny things, right? All of the opportunities and things that can happen in life. How to keep your attention focused on where you want to go so you make sure that you actually get from point A to point B. Finally, like the two ladies said, we will be finishing this up with some questions and answer. You can put them in the chat at any point. You can use the Q&A tool, whatever that is, but I will go ahead and get to all of those at the end of this presentation. So to introduce myself again, my name is Jessi Beyer, and I'm a speaker and the best-selling author of How to Heal, which is a book about healing from trauma. I'm a speaker at a lot of different places. I've spoken at some college campuses, some conferences for some corporate organizations, as well as small local groups like yours. I'm also a trauma and mental illness survivor, and I'm very open about this because I don't think it's something to be ashamed of. I do speak openly about my mental health struggles, and the strategies that I'm going to teach today are the exact things that I used to get from, okay, I've healed from my mental illness to now I'm living a life that I love and I'm so excited to wake up to every morning. So nothing that I'm teaching today are nebulous strategies or anything like that. These are the step-by-step things that I did in my own life to get to where I am today. Finally, I'm also an EMT and a canine search and rescue handler. So not only do I have some experience with trauma and the mind and things like that from my own personal life, but also in the communities that I run in and the people that I work with. Now, like I said, the first part of this presentation, we're going to be talking about how to figure out what the heck you want to do with your life, which is really the first step before we start any goal setting, before we start talking about our why or our attention or anything like that. We have to know where we're going. This is essentially us pulling up Google Maps on our phone and typing in the end destination, right? If we had a great start and we had the best car in the world and we had all the road trip snacks that you can imagine, that's great. But that's not really going to get us anywhere unless we know, okay, I'm driving from Oregon to New York. Great, I have a roadmap, I know where I'm going. The first step of this presentation is really putting that roadmap together for you. So let's start by defining the problem that we're all facing. And this isn't just because of COVID and the election and everything that's happening, midterms for you guys that is happening in 2020 right now. This is society as a whole. This is the problem that young people are faced with right now. First of all, we're told that there's only one way to build lives that are happy, successful, and fulfilling. There is the 1, 2.5 kids, white picket fence life that we're supposed to build. So many of us believe that because there's only one way to be successful and to be happy and to be fulfilled, that our lives have to look exactly the same as everyone else's, but that's not the case. We're also told that we can only be one thing, that we have to really focus and be known on just this one thing, right? An athlete, a student, a daughter, a mother, whatever that is, if we want to lead good lives. In reality, though, there's so many different sides to us, every single one of us. Sure, you may be extremely passionate about one thing, or you may have one part of your life that really does dominate, but you're not just that one thing. You are so multifaceted, multi-passionate. There's so many sides of you. And that's what I want you guys to build a life around. Not just that one thing, not just that one way, but everything that encompasses who you are. Now, the solution, right? We know what's wrong. Let's talk about how to make it right. The first thing that we're going to do is write our own dictionary, okay? So all of those terms, all of those adjectives that describe the life we're supposed to lead, we need to define those for ourselves. Success, happiness, fulfillment, adventure, peace, love, family, all of these things mean completely different things to different people. So you need to know what that means for you. You also need to do this in a way where your automatic conditioning doesn't take over. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, throughout our lives, we've been told so many times, again, that we have to be one thing, that there's only one way to do this. And so we have this vision in our heads of what it looks like to be successful, happy, and fulfilled. When we think too much about what our own dictionary is going to look like, that automatic conditioning, all that pre-programming of what our lives are supposed to look like, can actually come in and take over what our authentic self is trying to say. So when we're writing our own dictionary, we have to do so in a way where we're kind of sneaking in under that automatic conditioning and getting our authentic selves to be heard before that automatic conditioning can come in and take over. This is where our first exercise comes in. So that pen and paper that I mentioned previously, make sure that's out in front of you. Get something to take notes on. Now, over the next couple of slides, I'm going to display a series of words. These are nouns or adjectives that describe what an ideal life can look like. When you see that word, I want you to brain dump everything that comes to mind when you see or hear that word. So don't hold back. It doesn't matter if it doesn't make sense. It doesn't matter if you don't understand it. It doesn't matter if it doesn't all come together perfectly right now. Just get everything, that flash of inspiration in your mind, get every bit of that out on a piece of paper. Don't let yourself think, oh, well, adventure should mean this, or family should mean this, or I've been brought up to believe that hope means this. No. Don't think shoulds, don't think have tos, just whatever that first gut feeling or that image that flashes in your mind is, get that out on a piece of paper. You'll have about a minute per word. If you run out of time here, you can always go back to this recording and do it again, or you can do this exercise on your own with your own timer and your own set of words. The words that I'm going to show are words that I have found particularly meaningful and particularly impactful. But if you have other words that you are so much more passionate about and that resonate with you on so much of a deeper level, feel free to go back and do this exercise with those words. Again, this is just a starting point so that you can leave this presentation already having some sense of a roadmap in place, okay? So I'm going to get my timer out and then I'll go ahead and flash up that first word. So That's not what I want. This is what I want. You guys ready? All right. Our first word is freedom. So when you hear the word freedom, when you see the word freedom, what does that mean to you? What does that feel like? What does that look like? What are you doing when you're living a free life? Get all of those thoughts out on paper. Write it out, sketch it out, whatever you need to, but get that all out of your brain on paper, okay? Got about 30 more seconds, so keep writing, keep drawing, whatever it is that you're doing. Five more seconds, so wrap up any final thoughts you have about freedom. And our next word is love. So same thing, brain dump everything that comes up for you when you hear and feel and see the word love. About 30 more seconds. Five more seconds, so finish up any final thoughts about love. All right, our next word is peace. Don't be afraid to get your senses involved here too. Does peace smell a certain way? Does it feel a certain way? Taste, hear, what does it look like? Really paint this picture of what peace looks like for you. About 30 more seconds, then we'll move on to our next word. Five more seconds. Our next word is home. What does home mean to you? This can be just as much a place as it can be a feeling. So don't limit yourself to what home can mean to you. Thirty more seconds. About five more seconds. So wrap up any final thoughts you have about home. Our next word is happiness. What does happiness look like to you? Maybe more importantly, what does happiness feel like to you? What are you doing when you're happiest in this world? Go ahead and jot some thoughts down on that. About 30 more seconds. 5 more seconds on happiness. The next word is success. What does success mean to you? This is one of the most common words that people have a very stereotypical definition about. So really think about what success means to you, not what other people have told you success should look like. Thirty more seconds on success. Five more seconds. All right, the next word is family. What does family, and perhaps who does family mean to you? What relationships do you want to cultivate? What relationships do you want to create and maintain? Who are the people in your life, or perhaps the places, the animals, anything like that that are family to you? Thirty more seconds on family. Five more seconds to wrap up any final thoughts you have about family. Our next word is adventure. What does adventure look like to you? How would you go on an adventure? What would it mean to have an adventurous life? Thirty more seconds on adventure. Five more seconds on adventure before we move on to our next word. Our next word is fulfillment. What does fulfillment look like in your life? When do you feel most fulfilled? What would a fulfilling life look like in the future for you? Thirty more seconds on fulfillment. Five more seconds, and then we'll move on to our next word. Our next word is courage. What does courage look like to you? What does it mean to be courageous? Go ahead and jot some thoughts down on that. Thirty more seconds on courage. 5 more seconds. All right. So go ahead and put your pen and pencil down, or pen and paper, I suppose, if you're not writing with a pen and pencil. So what we just did there is we really got out of our heads what all those words mean for us. And really that builds the foundation of what we want our lives to look like. Now, as you're working back through these answers, when you have some time not in the middle of this presentation, don't judge yourself, because there really are no wrong answers or wrong definitions for any of those words. Should is the death of dreams, is what I like to say. Only do things that align with your dreams, beliefs, and values, not because you should do them, right? I was going to say you should only do things. And I was like, no, we're not going to use the word should here. That's on the banned list from now on out, okay? So goals that you feel you should do or you should have are honestly a waste of your time and a disrespect to your individuality. This world is made a better place by everyone having different goals, different dreams, different perspectives, and different personalities. And for you to try to shove yourself in this little tiny box that everyone else says you should live in is doing the rest of us a disservice. So if you wrote down something that you feel you shouldn't have, or you didn't write down something that you think you should have, try to let those feelings slip away. Try not to focus on what you did, quote, wrong in that exercise. There really are no wrong answers when it comes to figuring out what you want to do with your life. In that same vein, there are so many possibilities and so many opportunities in this world that even if you wrote something down that you're like, oh, I could never achieve that, right? That's so out there. That's so weird. That's too hard. That's too big of a dream. I want you to challenge those thoughts as well, because everything is possible when you have the motivation, the determination, the focus, and the plan, okay? And we're going to cover a lot of those steps in this presentation. Now, the next part of what we're going to do is turning what you wrote down into goals. So what we did, again, is we just brain dumped. We got everything out of our head and got it on paper. And it probably didn't make a lot of sense what we wrote down. But now is the time to go back through it and sort it and turn it into actual goals. So like I said, that was a brain dump. What I didn't want you to do was stop to think, because that's when that automatic conditioning that I was talking about would get in the way. I wanted everything from your authentic self to kind of slip in underneath that. Once you've gotten it all out on paper, which we just did, and again, if you want to go back and do that more in depth, you want to add more words, whatever that is, feel free to do that. But when you've decided that you're done with that word associations game and with writing your own dictionary, go through it again and see what themes or golden threads keep popping up time and time again. These common threads, they're going to become your core goals, or what I like to call your 5 buckets. So the 5 buckets, okay? We're not plumbers, we're not painting a house. So what are we talking about? The average person can concentrate on about 5 things at a time, right? You know, the waitress that walks around with 20 different plates in her hand, they're probably going to come crashing down. And our brains are the same way. We can't have so much going on at once if we actually want to achieve what we set out to do. If you try to focus on too many things at once, beyond generally being unsuccessful at them, you'll feel super spread out and spread way too thin. That's when burnout starts to happen. That's when procrastination and perfectionism all start to happen. And that's really a mindset that we want to avoid at all costs. Your 5 buckets are your main categories of your goals. And they really do become the centerpieces of your life that you focus on throughout your day, week, and year. So just to give you an example of what this could look like, I wanted to share my buckets with you. My first bucket is my business, right? I spend a lot of time on my business. My business is a huge priority to me. And within that are certain things. There's being an author and a speaker. There's sharing my message with the people that need to hear it. There's helping other people become authors and speakers. There's building a multi-7-figure business, et cetera, all these different goals that I have related to my business. My second bucket is my family, and that can mean anyone in my life that I deem important. So it's my parents, it's my best friend, it's finding a romantic partner, it's prioritizing my relationships with my kids, which are my dog and my cat. So, you know, bear with me on that definition, but I consider them just as much family as my human family. The final bucket of mine is search and rescue. So my dog and I, like I mentioned, are a canine search and rescue team. And so I have a lot of goals related to that. I have various certifications, both for myself and for the type of work that I want her to be able to do. I have a wilderness medicine course that I want to take. I have just generally improving my SAR skills and becoming the best canine team that we can be. Now, what I want you to do right now is take about 2 minutes. I'm going to set another timer, but take about 2 minutes and come up with your 2 to 5 buckets based on the word associations game. So again, remember, go back through, find the golden threads, the common themes that pop up time and time again, and see if you can narrow those down to between 2 and 5 main categories and areas of prioritization in your life. I'm going to go ahead and start that timer right now. We're a little over halfway through, so keep thinking about what those golden threads and 5 buckets could be for you. You don't have to have 5. Again, I had 3, but anywhere from 2 to 5 is a good number to aim for. About 10 more seconds, so wrap up any final thoughts you have about what your buckets could be. All right, so the challenge that I have for you now, one of the biggest roadblocks that I hear from people when they're talking about designing a life that they love waking up to and chasing after all these amazing dreams that they have is that they don't have enough time. Right? They don't have enough time. They're so busy with this and with that. And it's just, oh my gosh, it's the end of the day. And where did all the time go? Right? That's so common for so many people, especially college students that already have so much on their plate. My challenge to you is to make sure that 100%, so every single one of the activities that you do throughout your day falls into one of your buckets. Now, if you can do that, right? The meaning behind this, the purpose behind this challenge is that if you can do that, you will know that every single minute of your day was spent bringing you closer to the life that you want to lead. Now, I'm going to tell you up front, this is a completely unrealistic challenge, and every single one of you will probably fail at this. I fail at this every single day, right? There are other parts built into our days. Sometimes we do need to veg out in front of the TV and just turn off for a little bit. That's completely okay. But when you find yourself spending 2 hours on Instagram and 3 hours in front of the TV and going out to the club every Friday night or whatever it is, right? Those are hours and times of your day that you could be spending working on these goals and these buckets that you have. So I'm not telling you never to do anything just for the heck of it or never to be spontaneous or anything like that. But just keep that in the back of your mind, right? How could I be spending my time today, bringing myself closer to the life that I want to lead? Now, part 2 of this presentation, like I said, all about the why. All about the motivation, all about the driver, and how to make sure that you keep up that motivation when roadblocks and challenges pop up in front of you. So first of all, why do you need a why statement, right? Why are we doing this in the first place? Well, simply put, life is not always easy, right? There will be challenges. There will be days where you completely just don't feel like doing it. You want to veg out all day, right? Like you cannot, right? The day is just done. Your why statement is going to be what carries you through those roadblocks and those ups and downs and allows you to keep pushing towards your goals. Now, again, this comes with a caveat, right? You are not a robot. You are a human with emotions and mental health. And mental health and emotions and humans all require self-care. So this is not saying to always, always, always go for your goals and never let any sort of sign from your mind or your body say, hey, maybe I should take a step back today. Maybe I need a chill day, right? Listen to those signs. because you are going to be at your best self and able to chase your goals in the best way possible when you listen to those signs. But the flip side of that is that if you're constantly derailed by challenges and roadblocks, that's when you need a why that comes into this. So there's 3 strategies, 3 parts to coming up with your why. First of all, you need to look at whether your why, your reasoning for wanting these goals and chasing these goals, is internal or external. So an internal why means that you're doing it for yourself. You have this goal because it makes you feel a certain way and it gives you something in your life. An external why would be you want to make someone else think a certain way about you. You want to change someone else's opinion, get someone else to do something, or anything related to someone else. When you're coming up with your why, this is the perfect opportunity for you to be selfish, and I encourage you to be. If you're constantly doing things for other people, that's a really hard way to live, because no matter how powerful or persuasive you are, you can't make anyone else feel a certain way about you. You can't even make them do something if they really don't want to do it. So when you do something for someone else, you have this big goal to make someone else love you or treat you a certain way, and then you achieve that goal, okay, by the sheer force of will, and then they don't think differently about you, they still treat you the exact same way, your entire hope in this whole system, in the ability to change your life and get what you want out of life, is completely dashed. But on the other hand, if you have an internal why and you make these big changes and you're like, I'm going to make myself so proud, I'm doing this for confidence and for X, Y, and Z, whatever that is, then you achieve that goal. And no matter what the rest of the world thinks, no matter what the rest of the world thinks about you, you are proud of yourself and you know that you made a change in your life that you wanted to make because it got you to feel a certain way about yourself. That's the type of why we want to strive for. Now, the second part of this is we need to have a deeper emotional tie. It can't just be a surface level why. So for example, if your goal is weight loss, fitting into your old skinny jeans, that's a good why, right? That's a good motivator on some days. But confidence in yourself, sexiness, power, femininity, masculinity, whatever that is, that's an even better why. So think about what you're actually getting from your why, and then tie that and the goal into a deeper emotion. So again, you're not just getting fitting into an old pair of skinny jeans, you're getting that confidence and swagger and feelings and all of it that comes with losing the weight. Does that make sense? Now, the third piece of this is if you have no idea why you want what you want, think about what ticks you off. What makes you angry? What makes you so annoyed that you just can't stand it? Then think about how you can turn those negative annoyances into positive whys. So for example, if you want to do something because you never want to have to deal with that annoying coworker ever again, it's pretty powerful, right? So how can you turn that around into a positive? Instead of, I'm doing this, I'm applying for new jobs because I never want to work with this annoying coworker again. Say, I'm applying for new jobs because I want a positive workplace environment. I want coworkers that I love and want to hang out with outside of work beyond just the required happy hours on Friday nights. Does that make sense? Now, this is the framework for your why statements. I want blank, meaning your goal, right? What do you want? Because blank, which is your why, so that I can have blank, which is your deeper emotional tie. So for example, I want to lose weight because I want to fit into my old skinny jeans again so that I can feel more confident about myself. Or I want to find a new job because I never want to have to work with that coworker again so that I can have great friends and a positive workplace environment. Does that make sense how we're going to put this together? This is that framework. Now, pro tip for this last piece here, the so that I piece, use the words from your word associations game as your emotional ties. So as you've made these goals, you've made these buckets, there's going to be words that the items from those buckets came from, right? So for example, if travel is one of your buckets, adventure was probably one of the words where the theme of travel kept popping up. So pull those words from your word associations game that are associated with these goals and plug them into this final step here. Now we're going to do the final exercise of today, which is writing our why statements right now, okay? So I'm going to set a timer for 5 minutes, and I want you to write down 2 to 4 why statements based on the goals you discovered in the word associations game and the buckets you made during the last bit of journaling that we did, okay? So I'm going to start that timer, and I have a couple other points for you as we dive into this. All right, so that 5-minute timer is going. Now, as you're thinking about this, let's talk about how many why statements you need, because it's generally not just one why statement, okay? It's generally not just, I want to change my life because I want a better life because it'll make me happy. It's like, okay, right? That's a little nebulous. We need something a little more specific so that when one part of your goal is just falling apart, right? You lose 20 different clients, you break up with your boyfriend, I don't know, whatever it is, whatever goes wrong, we want to have that specific why statement that we can call on and say, I'm going to get over this specific hurdle because of this specific why. So what I like to do is generally one why statement per goal. So for example, one of my goals is to get my wilderness EMT certification. I have my EMT right now. I want to do the WUMP upgrade, the wilderness upgrade for medical professionals, and get that wilderness certification in front of that title. So that is one of my goals under my search and rescue bucket. So I would have one or two why statements around that goal, around why I wanted to get my wilderness EMT certification. I would use the framework from the previous slide to make that happen, right? Writing out that why statement that way. And then once I've done that, I'd go ahead and move on to my next goal. Does that make sense? So you do not have to write down a why statement for every single goal right now. That's like a multi-hour project potentially if you really wanted to go into it. But this is an opportunity to get some of those creative juices flowing. Start thinking about your why statement, start thinking about your motivation, and start putting all of the pieces from this presentation together. So we have a little over 3 minutes left in this exercise. So I'm going to shut up now, and then you guys can take the rest of this time to journal. I'm actually going to give you guys just 1 more minute instead of 2, just to make sure we have enough time for question and answer at the end of this. So you got about 53 seconds left. And of course, you can go back to this exercise after this presentation and go more in depth if you'd like to. About 10 more seconds, then we'll wrap up this exercise. All righty. Now, once you've gotten all of your why statements done, what do you do with it? Well, this is something you should see daily. So type it out and put it somewhere that you would see it every day, like your fridge, your bathroom mirror, your bedroom door, anywhere that you walk by on a daily basis. You also should set it as the background of your phone or your laptop, somewhere that you carry it with you all throughout the day. What you also can do is turn each of your why statements into an affirmation and either say it daily, journal it daily, however you like to do your affirmations, but turn them into affirmations and use them throughout your day. Now, the third part of this presentation, the final part, is how to stay focused on your goals so you don't get distracted. The exercise that we're going to talk about in this third part is something that does take more time than we have right now today. So this is going to be more of a listening part, and then you would take what you learned in this part and then go apply it tonight, tomorrow, this weekend, whatever you want to do with that, okay? So The first thing I want to do is define shiny new object syndrome. This is the phenomenon of seeing a new activity or opportunity and completely dropping what you're currently working on to pursue that new thing. It is hopping and hopping and hopping and hopping to all these different goals and never really making traction on the ones that are most important to you. The cure to this is a vision board. But before you guys are like, oh my gosh, Jessi, I've done vision boards before. This is not your standard vision board. If you believe in manifestation and spirituality and things like that, then this can absolutely work as a vision board like you're traditionally used to. But at its core, a vision board is an attention focusing tool. There's actually a specific structure to making your vision board that I want to share with you now. Each corner of your vision board, so imagine a big poster board and you have 4 corners, right? Each corner of your vision board should be dedicated to one of your buckets, with your most important bucket in the middle. So 4 around the corner and 1 in the middle. If you have 3, divide it into 3, put your most important one in the middle. If you have 2, 1/2, right? Pretty simple. But one specific area of your vision board should be dedicated to one specific bucket. Secondly, each bucket's area should be filled with pictures that represent those goals. These can be your photos you found online. They can be clip outs from magazines, whatever you want to do. But print out those photos and literally glue them on in each bucket's area. Now, the third part of this is the words. So the emotional tie words from your why statements or the words from the word associations game, however you want to do that, they're going to go on top of each bucket with the bucket that they correspond to. So not only do you have your what in front of you, right, the goals you're trying to achieve, but you also have the why. You have the what and the why right in front of you at all times. Now, the final piece of this is the centerpiece. So in the very center of your vision board, on top of everything else, this is the last thing you would glue on this vision board. Put a picture of what is most important to you in your life. For me, that's my kids. It's a picture of when my dog was a puppy and I have my cat on my lap and my dog snuggling up next to me. That's my centerpiece. Those kids are my world, right? So whatever that is for you, that picture goes smack in the middle of your vision board, in the center of your life. Now, how your vision board works, if we're not looking at it from a manifestation perspective, is that it focuses your attention. So think about grocery shopping, okay? If you go grocery shopping without a list, what happens? Now, if you're like me, and I think I'm like most people with this, you're gonna come out of the grocery store with a ton of things that you did not need. I'm looking at you, candy aisle there, and forget half of the things that you actually needed, right? The milk, the eggs, the bread, the butter. Life is the same way, and your vision board acts as your grocery list. So every day, and before you make any major decision, you need to remind yourself where you're going in life. You need to remind yourself of your life's grocery list by looking at your vision board and then making sure that every choice you make and every day you spend aligns with that vision. So you actually need 2 vision boards though, okay? For the same reason that your why statement should be on your phone. This is a virtual vision board. And having a physical vision board is great. We totally need that because there is magic in literally cutting and pasting those pictures on a board. And you should have it somewhere that you see it every day. But what about when you're out and about? You're probably not going to be carrying a giant poster board with you to class. So how do you keep up those reminders when you're not at home? Now, Pinterest makes a fantastic virtual vision board. And before you laugh at me and are like, oh, Pinterest is for suburban moms, you don't actually have to use Pinterest for Pinterest. You can just use it as a virtual vision board. Now, if you love Pinterest like I do, then absolutely no shame. But for those of you that are like, I don't want to use Pinterest, you can just use it as a vision board instead of a social media tool like it's designed to be. So the first thing you need to do once you create a Pinterest account is make a board for your overall vision board. That's the big bucket, right? And then in that board, you can actually make subsections that will be for each of your buckets. It's just a way to categorize where your photos go. Finally, fill each subsection with the images from your vision board, all of those images that represent the goals that are associated with that bucket. Make sure as well that your physical vision board and your virtual vision board are the same board, because if they're different, you could be actually confusing your subconscious mind with what you want. You know, if one is all focused on high fashion and luxury and travel and things like that, and then the other one is like rock climbing and mountain biking and really outdoorsy things, your brain might be like, wait, which are we going for? These are very different things, right? Which one are we focusing on right now? Now, to recap everything that we talked about today, before we move into question and answer here, the first thing you need to do that we started to do together today is figure out your what. play that word associations game, break free from all of your automatic conditioning from your family's and society's expectations, and figure out what you really want your life to look like. Then find those common threads, find those golden threads, those themes that keep popping up time and time again, and condense those goals that you wrote about in the word associations game into 2 or 5 or 4 or 3 or somewhere in their buckets, right? You will focus on these. These become those pillars of your life. And you can absolutely have more than one goal in each bucket. Then figure out your why. Write out your why statements. Remember, I want goal because why, so that I can have this deeper emotional tie that I'm looking for, okay? And finally, make sure that you're going to remove any distractions, write your grocery list for life, and create both a physical and a virtual vision board. Those are your 4 steps. By putting those 4 steps into action, you are going to do so much groundwork. You're going to lay that foundation for taking action on those goals and actually seeing success and building the life that you want. This is a step that most people skip, or these are the 4 steps that most people skip. Most people go right to goal setting. Like, okay, I want to be a millionaire. How do I become a millionaire? And they start goal setting from there. But they miss this foundation. They miss the why. They miss the focus. They miss the what. And without all of these pieces, you could be building a life that is not aligned with you, a life that you don't actually want to live. Take that second, take that pause, go through these 4 steps, figure out what you really want, why you want it, and how you're going to stay focused on it, and then move into that goal setting piece and taking action on creating this life that you've dreamt up. Now, that in terms of content is all that I have for you guys today. So thank you so much for your time and attention, whether you're here with us live or watching the recording. If you have any questions that are not answered during question and answer, or if you'd like any sort of private conversation with me, feel free to reach out over my email address, over my website, or over direct message on Instagram. I would love to connect with you. One of my favorite things to do with in-person presentations is have those one-on-one conversations after the actual presentation, but COVID can't do that right now. So please don't hesitate to reach out to me directly if you have any questions. And other than that, I will go ahead and pull up the chat and we can open this up for question and answer. If you also have a question you'd like to ask anonymously, you can send it just to me and I'll be the only one that sees it. I won't read your name or anything like that. So if you prefer to ask a private question, you can do it that way as well. Man, did I do that well? We have no questions. Huh, it's a good day for me. Well, if you don't have any questions, Hannah and Hailey, I will turn it back over to you. But thank you again, everyone, for having me and for really absorbing this information and for your time spent today.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jessi. That was super informative, and I really enjoyed it because so much of our lives, especially in college, are filled with obligations and meeting different deadlines. So it's so important to make time for yourself and really pursue your why and figure out what that is in the midst of meeting all these different obligations. So I really appreciated that. Jessi or Hailey, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, just thank you, Jessi, for being so willing to share your story, not only with the people here tonight, but also the people who will be watching this later on. And I just want to emphasize too, like, feel free to reach out to Jessi and ask questions that may come after this presentation, after having time to reflect on your why and maybe some of the information that Jessi shared today. Obviously, her email, her website, her Instagram are all up there, so feel free to chat with her at any time. And we'll make sure to send that information out as well via email, and then get this recording available to people so they are able to see it even after this time as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, ladies. I appreciate that. And I can send you my slides as well to send that out. Whatever you need, just make sure that this can get out to as many people as possible. So thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bye.